Hey everybody, welcome to Revitalise Meets, where I get the opportunity to meet business leaders, key influencers and business entrepreneurs from across the globe. Today I've got the great pleasure to be with a gentleman with over 30 years experience in business development, marketing and product development. He's the owner and founder of BrentCanada Experiences. Can you please welcome with us today the one, yes, but the only Mr. Brent Edwards. Brent, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Lee. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
You're more than welcome. An absolute pleasure. Great to get to have the conversations, get to know you over the last few months. Anyway, it's been brilliant. Brent, can we start off first? Because I know you've got part of what you do is professional network advisor. But could you give us a best description of your business journey to date?
Absolutely, Lee. So my passion project is BrentCanada Experiences. As you mentioned, I'm a professional networking advisor. We focus on helping newcomers with the number one skill gap that they have when they come to Canada as a new immigrant, which is the lack of a professional network. So really, this is a project that I've felt very strongly about it, being a patriotic Canadian. I want to help our country succeed. And the best way to do that is by helping our newcomers succeed. So it's a bit of a journey that to bring me here. As you mentioned, I've been involved in product management, product marketing, and business development for about 30 years here in the Greater Toronto area in Ontario. Um, if you go back about 10 years ago, I was looking to find a way to give back more to my community through volunteer work, through helping others, and got involved with an organization called the Institute for Canadian Citizenship. They produce uh, special citizenship ceremonies for new Canadians. Really enjoyed that, and I saw how important that day was to the new immigrants to Canada. Fast forward about 4 years ago, I had been laid off from a marketing role with a research organization, and was looking to consider entrepreneurship as a goal. I thought about getting back into the travel industry, where I'd spent a lot of my time, and I know that you've also been involved in the travel industry, and really gave some thought in terms of options. And there really weren't a lot of large Canadian companies in the travel industry. So I started thinking about, why did I actually want to contribute into that space? And it's because, I'd like to show my country to people who are visiting and show all the attractions and just show our pride in what we have to offer. And then I realized that it was really on a continuum. You have people coming for, say, a weekend or a short week from the UK or the States. We consider them visitors. So you have then people coming for, say, a conference, and they may be coming for a couple of weeks. Then you have those people who are coming again to visit Canada, but they're coming to make it a temporary home. And I think we would call them expats. Then I realized that you have people who are deciding to move countries for the rest of their lives, and we call them immigrants. So I realized that my expertise in travel, business development, product marketing, and all the work I've done in networking for over 30 years actually could be a benefit to newcomers. So that's really how I started BrentCanada Experiences. It's still a passion project for me. I'm still on the learning curve in terms of how to make a difference in the lives of new immigrants to Canada. But things are going well, and I still feel very energized. And I think that really is a sign that maybe I've picked an initiative that really reflects my values and my expertise and how I can make a difference.
I mean, congratulations, Brent. I mean, you've adapted, you've overcame, you've looked at what's around you at the time, especially what your skill set is, which of course is people and is helping them in the right direction. As being that helping hand to help people through. So really congratulations on what you've achieved so far. And no doubt there's plenty more successes ready around the corner for you as well. So it's great to hear what you're doing, especially in the networking field, the industry. And yeah, I've got a background in the travel industry for 8.5 years. So we had some sort of synergy in our conversations around
Yes,
that
for
as
sure.
well. A couple of companies that you're with that I was with as well at some point. But what's been your biggest achievement to date, or what's been your biggest challenge that you've overcame over the last couple of years, the last few months? What's
Sure.
that been?
Yeah. So I think in terms of the biggest achievement today, I think is getting a visibility around uh, what what I'm able to provide to newcomers. Um, Interestingly, I was able to connect with the owner of an immigrant TV show. Uh, it's called New Canadians TV. It was started by a newcomer to Canada about 8 or 9 years ago who had broadcasting experience internationally, but wasn't able to find work in the broadcasting field in Canada. So he's actually started a company that has grown. It has a weekly TV show. They have an amazing website and all kinds of resources. And I actually met him through networking. Quick story. I was hiring when I was in the commercial consumer banking industry about 8 years ago. I was hiring for a new role as a manager supporting my team. And one of the people I interviewed had recently arrived from Pakistan about 2 weeks before. He had just really basically had just gotten off the plane, had tremendous experience. It turned out that he was one of my top candidates. We did end up hiring him, but he's gone on to do great things. He's been a multiple author of a book. He's started up an angel investing company for newcomers. Anyway, he introduced, this is Majid, and Majid introduced me to Gerard, who was the person from New Canadian. So just that connection with networking, and you have these little conversations and who knows where it will take you. So that's really probably biggest accomplishment. In terms of challenge, of course, it's the pandemic. We're in about 2 weeks we're going to be celebrating our paniversary. uh, Curious what everyone's doing for their 1 anniversary of the pandemic. um, I had plans to host multiple in-person events. It would have been a great chance to bring newcomers, established Canadians together for networking purposes to advance their careers. And I've had to pivot, just as everyone else has had to do. Everything's online. So I really looked upon it as an opportunity to look outside the borders of Canada, to do some investigation to find really best practices in networking around the world. And that's one of the reasons why we connected, Lee. So I've connected now with and gone to networking events in the UK, Ireland, Australia, the United States, and England, Scotland, of course, and really have found there's some really common elements across the English-speaking world in terms of networking, and it's also helped me to better understand the challenges faced by people coming to Canada who are not used to the North American style of networking, and how to use that to either advance your career or advance your business. So it's been a great learning opportunity to kind of literally think outside the box, and to look and see what else is happening around the world, because there really there's no barriers to travel anymore, and attending these events, which going back a year ago we probably never would have met or had thought of how we could connect. So uh, uh, great opportunities, but challenges and looking to overcome.
Yeah, I think what we look at recently is that, I think with everything that's happened in the pandemic, everything's been going on since March last year. We've all had to overcome our own challenges. And in some ways, they've been positive challenges, and looking at opening up the horizons even further, a chance now to bridge the gap or have conversations, as I like to say, over the pond.
Over the pond, yes.
Over the pond
It's quite
opens up.
it is quite a large pond.
It's a ginormous pond, Brent. It's a ginormous pond. But when I worked in the States, it was the same way. But I think what you find is once you start networking, you start having those conversations, it opens up those doors. And especially now being online, it's certainly made it a more productive opportunity for everybody, really. And
Yeah.
that's what you found with the connections that you've made. But how have I think you might have answered that just before there, but how have you adapted to the environment for you in Canada, especially in the time of the pandemic? I know you mentioned the pivot word, you pivoted at that point.
Mhm.
Have you had to change anything in what you do with Brent Canada Experiences in a light of what's been going on with the pandemic over the last 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we were used to having, I mentioned about the in-person events, and a lot of the networking skills that the newcomers learn is by watching and being physically in the room. And my idea was I was going to be kind of acting as a bit of a wingman for some of the newcomers and coaching them in person. But that's not happening. And of course, everything's gone to online and Zoom and all the different platforms. So I've tried to find a way to actually provide other value to them uh, besides being there in person. And some of it is I've set up a master class that I've run with another associate of mine. I've done a series of webinars, again, with another uh, collaborator who I met from Salt Lake City, Utah. Um, there's been opportunities to actually attend some of these networking events and speak and connect with people. And we're still looking to adapt because a lot of the newcomers are still struggling since everything is online. They're not getting the same type of coaching that I'd be able to provide in person. So I'm looking to change my target market a bit and refine who I'm able to assist. There are a lot of free or low cost services available to newcomers in terms of their career journey if they're looking to continue, say, in a regulated profession. So I'm looking to see if there's other ways I can help them because what's happened is now everyone's kind of gone online. There's been a lot of industries shut down. So there's been a lot of potential competition in the space to help newcomers with their careers. And I'm looking to see other untapped areas where I can be assistance. So it's still a bit of a work in progress.
No, I think it's a good work in progress, and especially the way you've sort of adapted the model as such to really put something in place for people online. I think a lot of people are still a little bit, it's an online event. I'm a little bit wary about jumping online and chatting and seeing how that becomes an engagement until they start doing it and they get the guidance.
Yes.
That's what's needed. Try this, give this a go, try this as an introduction, opening
Yes.
up probing questions to open up even further instead of
Yes.
looking at the front blank canvas of somebody as well. So absolutely superb. Well done for doing that, especially in the light of what's going on right about now. Um, we talked previous to today about personal development, and we've talked about how you've been learning about yourself and your business even further, taking a deeper
Mhm.
dive into that personal development. Have you been doing a lot of that with knowledge and training? Have you looked at certain courses to do, or how has that affected yourself?
Yeah. So I think one thing that I've really had to learn is how to work effectively on Zoom.
Mm.
Luckily, I've had some experience in terms of running webinars through some of my other endeavors. Been able to see behind the scenes what's available. I've also been on a number of weekly coaching sessions run by some other authors and networkers around how to effectively use Zoom to engage others. Also, recently I was invited to join Clubhouse. So Clubhouse, you may know, is the new iOS app that is a new way of networking. And that's also been a bit of a learning curve because it's audio only. But there is a lot of people jumping onto that as a platform, and that's another learning curve that I've had. I think some of it's also being willing to be bold and to do things that are outside my comfort zone. One of the I remember going to a concert just shortly after I'd been laid off a few years ago. It was a Roger Hodgson concert, who some of your viewers would know, of course, from Supertramp, who's one of my favorite bands of all time. And he has one of his songs is "Hide in Your Shell," and it's all about just kind of being careful and cautious and risk adverse. And usually that's kind of been my personality or preference, but I've really learned that I need to take some more risks and to try some things, reach out to people that maybe I would not have before. One of the examples I use is in improv comedy. There is a technique that people will have on stage where you have basically there's agreement between the two people in the skit that they will always say yes, regardless of what the other person says, even if it's crazy. That's where the humor comes from. That's where the dynamic is. That's why it's so compelling as um, live in-person entertainment. Um, and I've kind of taken that to what I've been doing. So in terms of reaching out to people, it's like, why not? What's there to lose? Where normally I would have kind of done a mental balance sheet in my head in terms of the risks and kind of said, oh, I'm not sure if I should do that. But that was even before COVID. And now with COVID, it's like, yeah, you gotta try some things. And also I look at where the stage I'm at in my career, and it's like, I'm not gonna do it now. I'm not gonna do it. So just
True.
give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I think that's just been a kind of revelation a bit for myself in terms of the way I do things. So I think I'm a more of a risk taker than I was
Yeah.
a year or a couple of years ago.
I
So
think it's I
that's
think
it.
as well though, Brent, it's if try a little exercise. I was watching and listening today. Try to be uncomfortable once each day.
Yes,
It stretches your comfort zone slightly. But I'll tell you
yes,
one thing, you'll learn something new out of it straight away as
yeah.
well. So
And
yeah,
I'll just add one other thing that I've learned again, just from being kind of a little more analytical, and that's it was a market, that was all my 20 years in marketing. Um, is to I guess rather than analyze everything, it's more kind of trusting my instincts
mm,
in terms of what I want to do, um, and really saying to myself, okay, with all the research and information I have today, if I had to make a decision today, what would it be? Um, and that's kind of where I came with the networking, because I have a book with about 50 different business ideas that I could go to help newcomers. And I basically forced myself to say, okay, you've done so much research, so much investigation. Okay, with what you know now, what is the best option to go with the information you have? And that's where I landed on the networking. And it's actually panning out. But if I could still be investigating, and things are moving so quickly, Lee, that, if you don't jump on an opportunity and you think it through way too much, you may make the right decision, but it's going to be too late, which makes it a wrong decision. So I think it's just being more proactive and faster at things.
being proactive every day, making a difference, keep trying things, keep trying. It's never a failure. You're just trying something. Always keep doing it and keep moving forward to what you want to achieve every single time. Thanks for doing that. What would be your top tips or advice? So if I could ask you for your top 3 tips of personal development, what would you share with everybody who's watching and listening today? What would be your top 3 tips?
Sure. So one thing I've learned is to look at your personal network as an investment portfolio. So if we had both invested in the industry that we were involved in previously, in the travel industry and related industries, I love the industry, love all the people I met. Our investment portfolio would be pretty far down. Would you agree?
Yeah, true. Very
Absolutely.
true.
So if I looked at my portfolio of who I had in um, my circle, a lot of them were people in travel and financial services. And it helped me at the time, but in terms of going forward, I really needed to actively diversify my portfolio of who I connected with. And that's what I've really done my best to do over the last couple of years. Not making assumptions, because most of the people we meet, we don't really know who they are. We don't know who they were. We don't know who they will become, and we also don't know who they know. So don't make assumptions that way. I would also say look for collaboration opportunities as a small business. Initially, when I was involved, it was like, oh, they may be a competitor, they might steal my ideas. It's like, you know, uh, no matter my best efforts, BrentCanada Experiences is not a brand name, a global brand name yet. So, you know, trying at that, but it's like, it's not really going to make a difference. And there's actually much more you can do to collaborate. And the other thing is look outside your borders, whether it's the borders of your community, your city, your country. Um, there are so many great ideas. The barriers for getting involved and collaborating internationally have really come down. There's so many great people out there that you could connect with, and I would highly encourage all of your members to look at other markets for ideas and people to collaborate with. It's definitely worked for me, and one of the reasons that we're speaking today.
Very true. Very true indeed. Thanks for sharing your top tips, really, and especially from a personal development. I love the one in regards to prejudgment, because unfortunately in networking, many people did that in the early days that I got involved in. I could see that straight away, and I was like, wow, okay, they're not looking past the front cover, as I like to say. They're not looking at the experience and the background and
Yes.
the sort of level ground, the common ground, or the synergies that people have between one another. So with everything that's going on, especially what you're doing now with the professional networking advisory side of things with BrentCanada Experiences, what's next for you, Brent? What's the next chapter for yourself?
Yeah. So I had an interesting conversation yesterday with one of my first clients, and um, he was complimentary in terms of I'd been able to help him with the business that he'd set up. He's involved with um, AI and blockchain, and but my assistance to him wasn't around the fundamentals of his business. I mean, he's the expert in that area, but it was more making connections and evaluating the market. So coming out of that conversation, I guess I've really learned that there's opportunities for me to work with small businesses, likely people who are self-employed, either out of choice or out of necessity, because so many industries have shut down or because of the pandemic, and really to help them better understand the market better, and especially around Canadian business culture. It's a lot of the nuances in terms of how Canadians do business, and we tend to, again, there's differences at a federal, provincial, local level, company you deal with, the individuals. Um, but there's a lot of nuances, and Canadians tend not to be as direct as some cultures. So it's sometimes a little bit harder to read what we're actually thinking because we tend to be polite. And um, so if somebody's new in terms of this business culture, it's a harder, I think, to pick up on some of the cues versus some other markets they may deal in. So I think that's really an area where I can provide assistance and guidance, and potentially come up with some new products. So I'm really excited about that opportunity.
Exciting times ahead for you, Brent. Exciting times ahead, and that's great. We talked a lot today about the sort of overcoming the challenges, adapting to the environments, looking for new ideas, looking for collaboration. All this comes in hand, and I wish you all the very best for the future successes that you are definitely going to be having. But those been watching and listening today, how can people make contact? So they might have heard something going, do you know what? I need to reach out to Brent. How can they make contact with you after today?
Yeah, surely. So they can reach me on LinkedIn. They can also reach me on my website, which is www.networkingfornewcomers.ca. And really want to thank you for being open to collaborating and having me on your show. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, Brent. It's been great, especially I'm all about collaboration. I always have been, always will be. I think you learn so much from each other, and especially what we've done looking at the similar type of industries, but in different areas across the globe. We're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to help each other and introduce you to various other people, vice versa. And that's what opens it up, the multiple conversations that we're having, Brent. So thank you so much for your time today and getting involved. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Lee. Really appreciate it.
More than welcome. You're more than welcome. And thank you to you all for watching and for listening today to me and Brett having a bit of a good conflab, a good conversation about all the areas of networking. Please stay tuned for more Revitalise meets where I get the opportunity to meet business owners, business leaders, business entrepreneurs from across the globe. Keep well, stay healthy, and remember, as always, keep connecting, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye for now.